Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the English Learning Podcast, where we help you learn English better, faster, and smarter. I'm Bill, your host.
And I'm Sarah, your co-host. We're thrilled to have you with us today because we're diving into an essential topic for every English learner: memory improvement.
That's right, Sarah. Memory is a superpower when it comes to language learning. Imagine being able to remember new words easily, keep grammar rules in mind, and speak confidently without forgetting what you learned.
Exactly. But the big question is, how can we actually improve our memory? Is it something we're just born with, or can we train it?
That's the perfect question. And today, we're not just talking about memory in general, we're focusing on practical techniques to boost your memory specifically for learning English.
Yes, we'll be exploring powerful techniques that anyone can use, whether you're just starting out or you've been learning English for a while.
So, if you've ever struggled with remembering vocabulary, grammar rules, or even understanding conversations, stay with us because this episode is going to transform the way you learn.
Absolutely. And don't forget, you can always come back to this episode whenever you need a memory boost.
Ready to dive in, Sarah?
Oh, I've been ready, Bill. Let's get started.
All right, Sarah. Before we dive into the techniques, let's take a moment to understand what memory actually is.
Great idea, Bill. Memory is our brain's ability to store, retain, and recall information. It's how we remember names, places, languages, and everything else.
Exactly. And there are different types of memory. First, we have short-term memory, which is like a temporary notepad. It holds information for a brief moment, like remembering a phone number you just heard.
Then there's long-term memory, which is like a vast library. This is where we store knowledge for a long time, like vocabulary words or grammar rules we've practiced over and over.
And finally, we have working memory, which is like a mental workspace. It helps us process and use information right away, like when we are speaking English in a conversation.
That's so true, Bill. And understanding these types of memory can help us see where we might be struggling.
Exactly, Sarah. For example, if you keep forgetting vocabulary, it might be a problem with transferring words from short-term to long-term memory.
And if you struggle to speak fluently, it could be because your working memory needs a little training.
Absolutely. And the good news is, once you understand these types of memory, you can start using the right techniques to improve them.
Perfect. Now that we understand memory, let's talk about the challenges learners face and how to overcome them.
So, Sarah, what are some of the most common memory challenges that English learners face?
Great question, Bill. One of the biggest challenges is forgetting vocabulary quickly. Learners often memorize new words but can't remember them later.
Absolutely. I've seen that too. And another challenge is mixing up similar words, especially when they sound alike.
Yes, like confusing affect and effect or accept and accept. It's so common.
Another issue is struggling with grammar rules. Learners might understand the rules but forget them when speaking.
And let's not forget forgetting what you learned during conversations. Sometimes learners have the right words in their mind, but they disappear when they need them.
Exactly. And these problems can be so frustrating. But the good news is, they are completely normal and can be fixed.
That's right. Today, we'll not only talk about why these challenges happen, but also give you practical solutions to overcome them.
So, if you've ever felt stuck because of these memory issues, don't worry, we've got you covered.
Yes, let's dive into the most effective memory improvement techniques for English learning.
All right, Sarah, we've covered what memory is and the challenges English learners face. Now, let's dive into the techniques that can actually help improve memory for learning English. Ready?
Absolutely, Bill. These techniques are the real game changers. Let's start with the first one: visualization and association.
This one is a classic, and it works wonders. The idea here is to link a new word or concept to a picture or an image in your mind. It helps you create a mental picture, and we all know that pictures stick better in our brains than just abstract words.
Exactly. For example, if you're learning the word apple, you can imagine a bright red apple in your mind, maybe even visualize yourself taking a bite. This helps your brain store the word along with the image, making it easier to remember.
And that leads us to the next technique, spaced repetition.
Spaced repetition is about reviewing words or concepts at increasing intervals over time. Instead of cramming everything in one sitting, you review things at spaced out times, which helps transfer the information into your long-term memory.
Think of it like watering a plant. You don't water it all at once, you do it regularly. If you review vocabulary daily for the first few days, then weekly, then monthly, you're reinforcing the memory each time.
And that brings us to chunking information.
Chunking is when you break down information into smaller, more manageable parts. Instead of trying to remember a list of 10 random words, you group them into categories or phrases.
Exactly. For example, if you're learning the days of the week, you could group Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday together as the weekdays, and then group Saturday and Sunday as the weekend. It makes the information easier to recall.
Now let's talk about something fun. Mnemonic devices.
Mnemonics are memory aids, often using acronyms, rhymes, or funny phrases to make information easier to remember. For example, to remember the colors of the rainbow, we use the acronym ROYGBIV: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet.
Great example. Mnemonics work because they're often silly or unusual, and our brains love unusual or funny things. They stick better that way.
And here's another one: mind mapping.
Mind mapping is a visual technique where you draw out words or concepts in a diagram, showing how they connect to each other. It helps you see the bigger picture and understand relationships between words or ideas.
For example, you can write a central word like animals in the middle of a page and then draw lines out to words like dog, cat, elephant, etc. This visual representation helps your brain make connections.
And here's a technique that I personally love: storytelling.
Yes! Storytelling is a fantastic way to remember vocabulary. You take the words you're learning and create a little story with them. This technique is especially useful for remembering new vocabulary.
For example, if you're learning words like mountain, river, and journey, you could create a story. I went on a journey to climb a mountain. Along the way, I crossed a wide river.
It sounds simple, but stories make the words come alive in your mind, and they're much easier to remember when they're part of a narrative.
Absolutely. And finally, let's talk about active recall.
Active recall is when you try to retrieve information from your memory, rather than just passively reviewing it. It's about testing yourself.
Exactly. Instead of just reading through your notes, close the book and try to recall everything you've learned. This active process strengthens your memory and helps you retain information much better.
So, to wrap up, we've got visualization and association, spaced repetition, chunking information, mnemonic devices, mind mapping, storytelling, active recall.
These techniques are all powerful on their own, but the magic really happens when you combine them. Try using them together, and you'll see your memory improve dramatically.
Absolutely. And remember, it's not about perfection. Just practice consistently, and your memory will get stronger over time.
Now that we've covered some amazing memory techniques, Sarah, how about we help our listeners put them into practice with a quick memory exercise?
I love that idea, Bill. Let's make it fun and interactive. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to give our listeners a list of 5 English words. Then they'll need to remember these words using the techniques we just discussed.
Let's do it! The 5 words are cat, ocean, rainbow, mountain, journey.
Now here's what we want our listeners to do. First, visualize each word. Picture a cat, an ocean, a rainbow, a mountain, and the idea of a journey in your mind.
Take a moment to create strong mental images. The more vivid and detailed your images are, the better. For example, imagine a fluffy cat with bright green eyes, and imagine standing at the edge of the ocean watching the waves crash.
Now let's move on to association. Link each word to something familiar. For instance, think of your childhood pet for cat, or remember a vacation you took near the ocean.
And for rainbow, think of the last time you saw one, maybe after a rainy day. Then, for mountain, imagine hiking to the top and feeling the cool breeze.
Lastly, create a story using all 5 words. Maybe something like this. I went on a journey to climb a huge mountain. Along the way, I saw a beautiful rainbow stretching across the sky, and by the end of the day, I saw a cat sitting by the ocean.
Beautiful! Now, here's the challenge. Close your eyes and try to recall all 5 words without looking at the list. Use active recall to retrieve them from your memory.
This is a great way to reinforce those memories and see how well the techniques work.
That was fun, right? Don't worry if you didn't remember all 5 words right away. Keep practicing, and your memory will improve over time.
Exactly. The more you practice, the easier it will get to remember new vocabulary and grammar.
Great job, everyone! And if you need to repeat this exercise, go ahead and do it as many times as you like. The key is consistency. Before we wrap up, Sarah, let's share a few real-life success stories. These stories show how effective memory improvement techniques can be in the language learning process.
Absolutely, Bill. One success story that comes to mind is about a student named Maria. She struggled with remembering English vocabulary at first, but after she started using visualization and spaced repetition, she noticed a huge improvement.
That's inspiring! Maria began linking words to images and revising them at spaced intervals. She went from forgetting new words after a few days to retaining them in her long-term memory. Over time, she became more confident in speaking.
Another example is James, who had trouble with grammar. He kept forgetting rules when speaking, which slowed him down in conversations. But once he started using storytelling to create stories around the grammar rules, he was able to remember and apply them much more easily.
That's a great example, Sarah. It shows how storytelling can turn abstract rules into something personal and memorable. And don't forget the power of mind mapping. That's another technique that helped James organize his thoughts and remember patterns.
Exactly. And there are so many more success stories like this, where learners have turned their struggles into successes just by using the right memory techniques.
So, if you're finding language learning challenging, just remember, you're not alone. With practice, persistence, and the right memory techniques, you'll be able to unlock your full potential, just like Maria and James. Before we finish up today's episode, let's quickly address some questions we often get from our listeners. Sarah, are you ready?
Always, Bill. Let's do it.
All right. Our first question is from Emily. I've tried spaced repetition, but I still forget words. What am I doing wrong?
Great question, Emily. Sometimes it's not just about how often you review words, but how you're reviewing them. Make sure you're really focusing on active recall. Try to remember the word without looking at your notes, and connect the word with something meaningful.
That's a great tip, Sarah. Another question from Alex. How can I remember grammar rules better? They always slip my mind.
Alex, try using storytelling. Create stories using the grammar rule you're learning. When you make it personal and fun, it's easier to remember. You could also use mind mapping to visualize how different rules fit together.
Awesome advice, Sarah. And remember, everyone,